Wide receivers in fantasy football. Is it the way to go early and often? We're going to talk about that today. Brandon and I are going to discuss. We're going to go through wide receivers ones, twos, and threes. Go through who we like, who maybe, or who we believe maybe we should be pushing down the ranks a little bit. And if you're with us, though, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to another episode of the BuiBros Football Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Quinn Bowie, and I cheer for the LA Chargers. Across from me, my brother Brandon.
And I cheer for... I don't have anything around me except for my hat, the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Everybody's going to have those on their fantasy team. So we're going to go through essentially the top 36 wide receivers based on their ranking or ADP. We're going to look at 1 to 12 as wide receiver 1 and 13 to 24 as wide receiver 2 and 25 to 36 as wide receiver 3. So we'll take a look, see what we like, see what we don't like, just like you said. Ready?
100%. Why don't you wave your little techie wand, change the screen. Whoa, here we go. And we start, of course, with the wide receiver one.
Let me go first, okay?
You go first, Brandon. You go first.
So who do I like? Okay? Obviously, you can like CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill. You know, you can like those guys. Cool. Do you want the number 2 overall pick versus... Who's number 12? Drake London. Let me move this down just a little bit. Over Drake London? Yeah, you probably want him over Drake London. But are you upset when you get Drake London? If you are, what is that? Pick 21 as your first? So that's on like the come around in round 2. To get your first wide receiver as Drake London, I'm not too upset. So there's a lot of guys in between. There's really only one answer here. You got to choose Justin Jefferson. The guy is quarterback proof. Okay, he's proven it. He proved it last year while injured. Every time you had him play last year, other than a day he got injured, which was not his fault, clearly, he did amazing. And you want that guy on your team. That guy's staying healthy this year. That guy's catching balls from the greatest quarterback to ever live, possibly. The God Emperor quarterback of the United States of America. And Justin Jefferson's going to crush it. And just look, you don't want to miss out on Justin Jefferson because immediately after him, so Justin Jefferson ranked wide receiver 5, which is bogus. Immediately after him, you have some loser that's going to maybe get you some points here and there. You know, he's got another guy. His name?
What does that A stand for?
Dude, that guy, it's like, I think it's just Average Brown, but I always call him Average Joe Brown. The guy, I'm not going to take, let's say I'm pick 8. I'm not taking A.J. Brown. I'm still taking Justin Jefferson because someone else passed on him before. That's where I'm going to take him.
Right.
So this one is a pretty...
Brandon, I have to stop. Like A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
He had a streak of 6 games in a row last year of over 125 receiving yards.
Okay, but when was that?
What do you mean, when was that? Doesn't matter when in the season.
It matters when.
That is an NFL record for how many games of 125 yards.
It matters when.
You gotta put some respect on there. At least above average.
Okay,
Joe Brown.
So you had Average Joe Brown do okay and do pretty well early in the season. And then did he do anything late in the season? I don't even know because I don't pay attention to that guy. But the guy, the Eagles sucked late in the season. He didn't help him. He was having hissy fits. Why it matters when he did this is because everyone talks about Diggs doing really well and then all of a sudden dropping off a cliff. And it's like he doesn't help you in the playoffs, in the fantasy football championships, anything like that. That's just AJ Brown. But AJ Brown, for some reason, people are high on him for, who knows. And so he's ranked up here at wide receiver 6. So for me personally, there's a lot of guys on this list that I probably wouldn't take, but he's the highest of those guys. Justin Jefferson. Oh, so good. So good. Okay, those are my two. That's my yes, do it for sure, and do everything you can to get the guy. And then the other one, it's okay. You know what I mean? I guess if you had to choose one.
Right. So the other one, push down your rankings. You're not for AJ Brown
No,
at wide receiver 6
that's
there.
high
Are
too. Pick
you?
8. Ooh.
Oh, pick 8. That so obviously two running backs go in there, which is
Mhm.
an interesting topic. Like these wide receivers. That's why right now so many questions. Okay, your homer pick to Justin Jefferson. I get it, quarterback proof. Da 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 da. But like he's still not going to be the level of Justin Jefferson that he can be if he had a great quarterback or an above average quarterback, consistent quarterback. Um, well, are you willing to take AJ Brown as a wide receiver 1 at all?
Oh well, okay. Like don't be ridiculous.
No, well, I'm just saying, like when you look down the list here, are you taking all of those guys
Yeah,
above AJ Brown?
no.
Or are you not?
I'm obviously exaggerating when I talk about this guy, right?
No. Hey,
But
you don't have to elaborate anymore because it's my turn, Brandon. I just need to make sure you're
okay, you just
ranking.
need me here. You
Okay,
just need me to say
okay. So
it.
let's go here. Well, when looking at this list, um, uh, obvious choices here, but
Yeah,
I'm
we can't do
looking
the
at
obvious guys, right? Like we can't do the top, like those. It's
yeah. You can't do the obvious guys as a 4
Mhm.
reasoning. All right. Who I'm
Yes.
looking forward to here as a wide receiver 1. I've said it before. If I can't have him in real life football and I can't support him on my team, fantasy football is a nice close second. So Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he is going to be a very interesting pick. The competition for targets there is going to be uh, Trey McBride, who's going to also be a viable fantasy option. But Kyler Murray, you love Kyler Murray, okay? You love Kyler Murray. Lots
Yeah.
of passing volume going to be going
Yeah.
around. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that everybody, coaches, players, fans hoped he would be. The work ethic is showing there. He is the man that everybody, the player that everybody thought he was going to be, except for Fanatics. Fanatics thought he was going to be somebody else, and yeah, no, for another time. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, has a pathway as a rookie to absorb targets.
Yeah.
Just like and PPR league, like that's what you need. That's what you need. I'm excited for Marvin Harrison Jr. If
Yeah.
you are going to be a team that maybe drafts a running back early,
Yeah.
he's a solid guy to come back around and hope for. Fantasy football, shoot for the stars.
I have actually a good point for Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. That's not anything more than actual fantasy football strategy, because we talked about the stack before, right? And how if you believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to do well, his partner in crime, Kyler Murray, would do well as well. So if you put 2 eggs in that basket and it hits, you're going to do really well in your season. Um, if you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr., like you're saying on the way back in 2, uh, you can get Kyler Murray whenever the hell you want, and that's
Right?
that's a free stack, right? which is valuable. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to do that with like Hertz will be gone, Darnold's definitely going to be gone really soon. Burrow will be gone, Tua will be gone. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these guys, even Dak, like yeah, he's not top tier, but people will like it could be taken prior to you. Whereas Kyler is one of those guys where people might not like. We don't really know, or people don't really know. So you can get an easy stack with Marvin Harrison Jr. and those Cardinals. So that's just like another thing to think about for your strategy if you can pick Marvin Harrison Jr. or if he falls to you or if you like him at the spot. So
Right.
yeah, just another 4 argument, but yeah.
Well, like it just amplifies, just solidifies that reasoning for Marvin Harrison Jr. I love it. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't love it, depending on which draft we're in, and maybe you snipe one of these guys from me. But let's go into somebody as a wide receiver one at his current cost. I just don't know. Now I've been going back and forth. Big PPR player. I love the points. I think is a high value on wide receivers, and this year, I don't know. I've been listening to different podcasts and shows for fantasy football, and I've started to become this believer of running backs, depending on your format, of course. But if you have the standard 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, flex, and even in a PPR scenario, there's such depth at the wide receiver position, and when you're drafting high, potentially getting a running back because there is less depth. There is a huge fall off. We've already gone over the running back position. If you haven't seen that, make sure to check out that video. And it's a wasteland after a certain while. You get to running back 3s and you're picking what in the hundreds. We were like in terms of the PFF rankings here. And so it's made me think maybe a running back first, which means that there's a lot of questions for these wide receivers. And so somebody that I'm not down for right now is right there, number 4, third on that list, wide receiver 3, Jamar Chase. Not only has Jamar Chase been a boom or bust prospect, and there are various reasons as to why that is, but Joe Burrow, not been healthy. I think close to like 50% of the games in his professional career, he hasn't been available, and the best ability is availability, and he hasn't been there. And Jamar Chase has suffered because of that. Not only that, you have T. Higgins, who's playing pretty much on a 1-year rental for the Bengals, looking to prove himself to go and be that next wide receiver that's getting that contract.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he will. But a lot of target competition there. Jamar Chase currently not at facilities. He's wanting a new contract. But just like Justin Jefferson, if Justin Jefferson wasn't going to get that, it would be beyond me to think that Jamar Chase would. But I guess there is a possibility. But because he's 2 years away, that doesn't really happen. That never happens for wide receivers to get their extension. Yeah. And so why would it start now? Well, it may keep him off the field. It has been reported by Chad Ochocinco, who doesn't have any insider information, but he's saying, like, Jamar Chase is not getting on that field without a deal. From a former Bengals legend who's out there chatting with these guys, he may not have heard directly, like, Ocho, I'm right. not going to be on that field, but he hears the way he talks, the tone, the way the conversation is about the situation. He can sense that. Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson is a smart guy. So that's concerning. As a Bengals fan, you don't want to hear that. As a fantasy football fan, well, hell, like, I'm drafting this guy wide receiver 3, potentially 4th overall.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. And well, what about the CeeDee Lamb contract dispute and whatnot? He's going at 2 overall. He's wide receiver 1. Yes, I get that. There is some risk there as well. But based on reports, there seems to be a lot more confidence in where those CeeDee Lamb contract conversations are going. So a little bit less risk. And also the fact that CeeDee Lamb, I heard, I forget who said this, but I heard that CeeDee Lamb has potentially the best chance in a long time to break Marvin Harrison Sr.'s record of targets, which is over 200 targets in that Dallas Cowboys offense. So the upside for me, and I believe that, maybe not that high, but I believe he's going to be up there. I think the risk-reward ratio doesn't quite fit in Jamar Chase's standpoint.
Yeah. Fair. I kind of agree there. He's a little more of a wild card, especially at the moment. And then, like you mentioned, with Joe Burrow going down, it kind of tanks his value a little bit as well. But on that note, you ready to move on to wide receiver 2?
Wide receiver twos. Let's go.
Boom, 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 boom. There
we go. Okay, wide receivers 2. Starting with Mike Evans at wide receiver 13, going down to Cooper Kupp at wide receiver 24. So, Brandon, who are you thinking is maybe a little undervalued here? Who do you really like in the wide receiver 2 range?
I've mentioned this before. I absolutely love Cooper Kupp at wide receiver 24. You're telling me that I could pick him up? I think that's the end of the third round, like end of the third round. Right? Is that right? 2,
47,
3, 4. End of the fourth round? Third round? Anyways,
you're getting to the fourth round.
Yeah. You're kidding me. This guy's potentially
fifth round.
He's potentially wide receiver 1 on the Rams.
Potentially, yeah. And he is at quite a discount to Puka Nacua.
Huge discount. Absolutely huge discount. Like, I can't even consider any of these other guys because this guy's so low that his draft position is so valuable here. I just picked
100%.
up in the first round I picked up JJ, and then in the next 2 rounds I pick up a running back and then Kupp to end the round or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing. It's amazing that you could get Cooper Kupp that low. It's absolutely amazing. And he's just gonna come out and shine, and everyone's like, "Why the hell did we draft this guy? Why was this guy down here at 24? Why was he at pick 47? This is ridiculous." You know, people are gonna be, "What the hell were we thinking?" And it's kind of like the Mike Evans of old. You know, Mike Evans is here, valued much higher here than he was last year, and he did great last year. It's the same similar situation, and so that's where I'm thinking. Like right away, my eyes are drawn straight to Kupp as undervalued. And so
I hear you.
For a wide receiver 2, that's my guy.
Cooper Kupp, absolutely. He's healthy right now. He's in that high-powered offense with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford. I think it's highway robbery if you can get him. Again, this is close to the 5th round that you'd be going into. That's crazy value. If you can get him at the end of the 4th, mid to end of the 4th round, like that's nuts. Absolutely. Wild. So Brandon, who in the wide receiver 2 range though, you're saying hell no. We aren't going to be drafting you at your draft position and cost right now.
I don't know if I'm just, somehow I just hate on the Eagles, but I'm going with I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Well, straight like from the bottom of this list, straight to the top of the list. The second guy I mentioned there was Mike Evans. And yes, he was extremely undervalued last season. This season, he is extremely overvalued. This is, they have swung too far the other way. Mike Evans did great last year, and that's awesome. He got a new deal, and that's awesome. He could be wide receiver 13. That is plausible. I'm not saying that he won't be, but he doesn't have much higher upside than that.
Right.
He doesn't have higher than 13 upside, but he does have, he could be anywhere from 13 to 30, really, to 35, So he has some, he's currently valued at the top of his range. And that is what is disconcerting to me. So that's what would make me hesitate, is that, in my opinion, he's at the top of his range. That I don't want to pick him at the top of his range. I want to find somebody, a Cooper Kupp that's at the bottom of his range here.
That's bargain bin shopping, getting those value deals. Where it makes sense. And I agree with you. Like Mike Evans at the top of his range. I'm pretty sure I wanted to name all 3 of my teams last year 8th round Mike Evans, because everybody had devalued Mike Evans so much. Baker Mayfield's coming to town. It's the Bucks. It's Tom Brady's not there anymore. Blah blah blah. He's another year older. There's no way he can another 1,000-yard season. Well, he does again and again and again, and he is at the the top of the range here. And I understand 8th round. Who the hell are your league mates?
Yeah, exactly.
Idiots. Except for you, family. Except for you have to be in another league. Yeah, so Mike Evans, yeah, I'm with you. At that range, there's too much room for error and it seems like way too high of a risk.
Okay, well, why don't you tell me who you don't like in this list first, and then hit me up with who you
Oh,
do
okay,
like.
we'll stick with the negative. We'll stick with the negative. Okay, who do I not like in this range? Right now it's a tie. It's a tie. I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk. I think there is way too much risk going on right now
Yes.
with where he is going to be,
Yes.
like which team he's going to play for. When
Yeah.
he's on the Niners, Brock Purdy is more of that traditional pocket passer type where he wants to get it out to his wideouts. So Deebo Samuel, gets a tick down in terms of value, and it's reflected here. But if Ayuk gets traded to one of the teams that were reported, maybe he goes to the Browns and it's like, okay, maybe it could work with Deshaun Watson. Maybe he regains form, but now he's playing with Amari Cooper. They just traded for Jerry Jeudy and paid him as well. But then you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their quarterbacks are not doing well right now, and whether or not it's the offensive line or just the inept play because it's Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, the two most sacked quarterbacks in the last couple of years here. Like, they can't move the ball. So you're going to Pittsburgh where you have George Pickens, who kind of had his breakout year last year, wanting to continue to build on that. Well, it's not going to look good for him. And then you go to the New England Patriots, who I don't know what that's going to look like. Drake May, I guess, showed some promise because he played a little bit more. But I'm not sold on what that team is. And I hope to be pleasantly surprised only when we don't play them as the LA Chargers. But yeah. So for me, I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk as somebody that I'm not looking to draft.
I agree with you. And also, he's going to have to learn a new playbook pretty quick, too.
100%. It's getting so down to the wire, it's not helping anybody's case.
No, not at all.
For what's going on.
So, it's quite strange. I think that he stays with the Niners. I think that's what it's looking like to me. But even if he does, he's grumpy. He's not happy. It affects your work. And his work is catching footballs and scoring fantasy points for whoever drafts him. And
that is exactly his job description. Is whoever draft that score points for that team.
So he's pretty high in his range as well, if we're going with that evaluation.
100%. But who is lower? Who is lower than I think that they should be? I'm on this rookie train, baby. We're going Malik Neighbors over in New York for the Giants, going to be that wide receiver one. New York hasn't had a solid wide receiver one since Odell Beckham Jr., who is also an LSU Tiger. Same with Malik Neighbors. Everybody pro comp going to be Jamar Chase. This whole family LSU wide receiver. Wide receiver you apparently. Well, talk to Ohio State. Excuse me. And I think that Malik Neighbors, he has shown some insane ability, not, forget about college, but already in training camp, already in preseason games. I think he had something, it was either 17 targets or 17 catches on 20 targets. It was something monstrous against I believe it was the Lions in joint practice. Crazy. He had some amazing athletic grabs in the last preseason game. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones, sure, but we also have to remember Brian Daboll, their head coach, formerly the OC for the Bills. Somebody that the Chargers were looking at for the potential head coach candidate when Brandon Staley was hired, is that he was able to be this quarterback whisperer. He helped Josh Allen blossom into the player that he is. And so that was the hope with Daniel Jones. And last year, obviously, the injury. But Daniel Jones hasn't looked good in preseason. doesn't matter. Target hog, Malik Neighbors, I think it's interesting. When you look at his ranking here at 42, that means you're in the 4th round.
Yeah.
In a PPR league with not a lot of competition, with a quarterback that likes to throw the ball, with a coach that likes the quarterback to throw the ball, I think it's an interesting pick. And I would put him ahead of guys like Deebo Samuel, even potentially over DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite sure what new head coach Mike Macdonald, more of a defensive guy, potentially does that mean run the ball more, control the clock? Those usually go hand in hand. And coming from the Baltimore scheme, coming from the Harbaugh scheme in college as well, I definitely see that being the case. So, yeah, Malik Neighbors over Deebo Samuel, over DK Metcalf. Heck yeah, potentially a bold take. Who knows?
Yeah. You make good points, but going double rookies is a risky move.
I love it. It's exciting. It's fantasy football. Shoot
Fantasy
your
football.
shot. Let's go.
Let's move on to wide receiver 3, but I just
Boom.
want to honorable mention DJ Moore at wide receiver 22, so close to the bottom of the wide receiver 2 range. That's also a little criminal too. Like that guy's a stud. So
I think it's because of the mouths to feed in that offense. You have the 3-headed monster in wide receiver, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Caleb Williams can only throw so much as a rookie, especially in that stout defense like Minnesota Vikings and the tough competition and the Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Okay.
Wide receiver 3.
Wide receiver 3. Wow. This is clearly a different tier. Clearly a different tier of players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these are like actually wide receiver 2s on the team. This is clearly a different.
Some are going to be wide receiver 1s on the team. But yes, most of them are going to be questionable at best.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I see that there are some wide receiver 1s, but it's more like these guys would be 2s on another team. There's a lot of teams where these guys would be the 2. Wow. See, and I mentioned Diggs earlier, but I didn't really say it in a good light. So Diggs is a bit high for me. I don't know now. Now he's high on this list of wide receiver 3s. But in the grand scheme of things, is he too high?
I don't know.
I'm not touching that. I'm not touching Diggs. I'm not touching that because I can't value that.
Well, it's another situation where it's so many mouths to feed. You look 2 down, Tank Dell's right there. You go up to wide receiver 2s, and we saw Nico come.
Yeah, that is a lot. Okay.
Who do you got for us, Brandon?
Okay, I'm going to negative first because that's what I'm being drawn to here. Who I'm not drafting, unfortunately, maybe fortunately for you, is I'm not drafting Keenan Allen here. I'm not drafting Keenan Allen. I saw a report saying he's 230 pounds rather than like his 215 or something.
Yes, yeah,
or 210.
He played 210-ish.
What the heck is that?
Most of the time. Yeah, now he's up to 230. Not sure what that's going to be like because he's not that wide receiver.
He's not that wide receiver.
He's shifty and in and out of his routes, and at 230 it's going to be very tough, or potentially
I
tough,
saw things and it was like he got traded and they go tight end 1 Keenan Allen, because it's just he's gained so much weight. Like, maybe it works for him. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe the report's not even true. But I'm not touching that. That's risk. And he could be just as shifty as he used to be. And that's great. But I'm not touching Keenan Allen. I haven't seen anything positive from him this preseason. Rome Odunze, I've seen lots of positives. DJ Moore, I've seen lots of positives. And with Caleb Williams, he needs those positives. So I'm not throwing I'm not picking Keenan Allen. I don't even know at all. His value here is a big question mark to me. It could be 35. It could be higher a little bit, but it also could be much, much lower.
Keenan Allen, just quickly, Keenan Allen, I at that position, 72 rank. So we're up in the 6th, 7th round here. Um, it's wide receiver 35. I like that value. Yeah, we have to remember he's getting paid $20 million.
Yeah.
He's going to get his. Now, the whole 230 thing, that could definitely be an obstacle and something that's going to inhibit his play. But until we see that happen, I have to give him his due. And there's definitely guys above him where I'm like, hell no.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that in a moment. Brandon, who are you taking? Like, who are you like, yeah,
Okay.
I'd be happy with this guy as a wide receiver 3.
Jeez. Now I'm looking at Diggs. I'd totally be happy if Diggs
Yes,
is wide receiver 3.
Right? He was a first round pick last year.
I'm doing it. The guy hasn't lost a step. The
No
guy's
chance.
good, man.
Again, and he's getting paid.
He's got a young stud that's slinging the ball everywhere, throwing to him. I'm going the top of the range of wide receiver 3s. I was going to choose someone lower, but what are you talking about?
Hey,
So I got JJ, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. Duh. I'm winning that.
duh. You
I'm
playing
winning that
fantasy
league.
football like 3 years ago?
Honestly, I feel like I had those 3 dudes last year, but it wasn't working because 2 of them
Injuries
had
at
bad
different
injuries,
points.
and then
Yeah,
Diggs
because
did
I remember
show
you
up.
traded for JJ when he was hurt.
Yeah, and it didn't really work out. And I drafted
Yeah.
Cup late because he had his hamstring injury in the preseason, and anyways, I'm taking him again this year because they're sick. Stephon Diggs, like we talked about before, his value could be much, much higher than wide receiver 25. He could be a 12. He
Yep.
could be, he could be that guy.
He has the ability. He's shown it before.
Oh, he definitely has the ability. He has the ability to be 3. You know what I mean? It just depends on that offense. And that offense is, great. Do they just continue where they left off last year? Is CJ Stroud just a G again? If I draft Diggs, then hell yeah, he is. So I'm going with Diggs. Pick 49, wide receiver 25. I think he's got value higher than his position there. That's what I'm taking.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to go right into the negative as well. So we can finish off the positive on these wide receiver 3s. So negative, who am I looking here that I just can't get behind it? Well, I'm going with former number 1 wide receiver, Pittsburgh Steelers, now moving on to Carolina in Deontay Johnson. I know he's a PPR machine, or he was supposed to be, or he was sometimes, but going to Carolina and playing with Bryce Young. Yes, Bryce Young is a new head coach who it took forever for them to hire. They ended up hiring the former offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, okay, yes, you got Baker Mayfield to have a resurgent year with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Also somebody who I'm not really, there's my dishonorable mention quickly, but Deontay Johnson, I just don't trust that offense. I would rather Keenan Allen over him, and I've just never been a Deontay Johnson guy, and I've been proven right so many times because
Fair
of that.
enough.
But on a positive note, somebody who I'm interested in drafting this year, and I've been on and off with this guy for several seasons now. I feel like when he was first coming to the NFL, high on him, and again the next year I got burnt up and down and up and down. But Terry McLaurin, scary Terry McLaurin over in Washington. We have all seen the news now that Jaden Daniels is going to be QB1
Yes.
there. They need a wide receiver 1 in that position. And not only is scary Terry paid in Washington, but there are also reports that Jahan Dotson not really working for the new brass, and potential trade candidate, somebody who Cliff Kingsbury, their OC, he
Cliff
was
Kingsbury
trying to
is the
say
OC?
nice.
I
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
OC, that's a whole rumor.
Oh.
Before the draft, was like, oh, that means Washington's trying to move up, and blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so he's trying to say positive things about Jahan Dotson, but it's not really like, he's definitely not hearing angels sing. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Um, And so that means scary Terry McLaurin going to be the number one guy there with high prospect in Jaden Daniels, QB2 in the NFL draft this year. I think that's an interesting play down there at 62 and at wide receiver 31.
I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Done. Well, there you have it. So easy. Two brothers are not arguing in this video. Not much, except for over Keelan Allen. And that just might be because I feel a little bit too much still.
A little bit.
A little bit. But thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. If you like what you're listening to, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a bunch. Like the video. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. We love talking football each and every week. Season is upon us quite soon. Brandon, why don't you send us off?
Yeah. I don't really have much to say at the end. Except for Skol Bolts. Oh!
Skol Bolts!
Nice. Okay. See ya.